In 2022, the Magellan Company led an underwater expedition in the North Atlantic. Its aim was to present the wreck of the Titanic as it had never been seen before. Using photogrammetry, Magellan scanned the remains of the famous ship, producing the most accurate 3D model of the wreck as it looked that year. The wreck of the Titanic is now accessible to everyone in vROV Pilot Titanic. Dive to a depth of 3,800 meters to explore the wreck of the Titanic like never before. The Romeo and Juliet ROVs arrive on the seabed, far from sunlight. For safety reasons, the robots arrive far from the wreck and approach it. At a depth of 3,800 meters, visibility is limited and danger is everywhere. The pressure exerted on the robots is almost 400 kilos per square centimeter. The mythical wreck finally appears, lying there since the famous night of April 14-15, 1912. Having lost her former majesty, the Titanic is now covered in rust, the result of bacteria eating away at her steel. Life has developed far from sunlight. By the time the ship reached the seabed, the bow had sunk to the point where the anchors, once far above the water, now graze the abyssal floor. Their chains are still present on the forecastle. A cylinder leaning back, disintegrating. These are the remains of the foremasts that supported the lookout post. It was from here that Frederick Fleet warned by telephone with a now famous cry, "Iceberg right ahead." On the bridge, First Officer William Murdoch gave orders for avoiding the obstacle. The foremast has now collapsed across the forward well deck. During the collision, several blocks of ice had fallen onto the starboard side of the well deck. While the damage caused by the iceberg is buried, the hull retains the after effects of a breach corresponding to the damage caused by the fatal impact. Water rushed in, invading boiler room number 6. Fireman Frederick Barrett witnessed the event.
I was standing talking to the second engineer. The bell rang. The red light showed. We sang out, "Shut the doors," and there was a crash just as we sung out. The water came through the ship's side. Frederick Barrett.
The sinking claimed 1496 lives, but only 712 survived. A few davits remain on the ravaged deck, reminding us that priority was given to evacuating women and children. The sinking of the Titanic is partly remembered for the fact that the ship didn't carry enough lifeboats to evacuate everyone. Yet the ship was over-equipped in relation to the regulations to which it was subject. It carried 16 lifeboats and 4 collapsible boats named Engelhart Tune. To starboard, the remains of a davit that launched lifeboat number 7, the first boat to leave the ship. The operation was led by Officer Murdoch. He lost his life in the sinking. This lifeboat stand marks the location of boat number 5. Here, on that cold April night in 1912, ship owner J. Bruce Ismay wanted to lower the lifeboat quickly. He was rebuffed by 5th Officer Harold Lowe. Following the sinking, Ismay was blamed for the tragedy. Legend has it that he pressured Captain Edward Smith to speed up the ship and arrive in New York sooner. There is no evidence to support this hypothesis. One survivor, however, officially claimed to have seen Ismay urging Captain Smith to arrive earlier, but she was unable to describe the two men physically. not being able to say for sure whether the man she thought was Captain Smith had a beard or not, nor whether the man she thought was Ismay wore a mustache. On the port side, a folded davit marks the location of lifeboat number 8, the place where Ida Strauss refused to leave her husband.
She would not get in. I tried to get her to do so, and she refused altogether to leave. Mr. Strauss. The second time we went up to Mr. Strauss, and I said to him, I am sure nobody would object to an old gentleman like you getting in. There seems to be room in this boat. He said, I will not go before the other men. Olna, first-class passenger.
Not far away, the first-class entrance, where legend has it the band plays to the very end. At the front of the boat deck, this davit had launched the Engelhart D, which was the last boat to be released properly. By this time, the sea had reached the deck just below.
The sea came in onto the deck at our feet. Then we hopped up onto the gunwale, preparing to jump out into the sea. Because if we had waited a minute longer, we should have been boxed in against the ceiling. And as we looked out, we saw this collapsible, the last boat on the port side, being lowered right in front of our faces. Wolna.
The Engelhart would later be towed by lifeboat number 14, commanded by Officer Lowe. To starboard, a davit still stands. Ismay was present when the Engelhart C was launched. Several witnesses reported seeing the ship owner busy evacuating the women. Ismay climbed aboard the dismountable boat that had been lowered. Public opinion held him responsible for the tragedy, for having survived. The davit remains frozen. Its position indicates that it had been brought inside. The crew had wanted to hang the Engelhart A from the davit and launch it into the sea. Today, the Titanic is falling apart. All that remains are a few artifacts and the memories. vROV pilot Titanic has frozen the mythical ship as it was in 2022.